It's a podcast from Steam Powered Giraffe. It's the Bennettarium. We got Michael Reed, Chelsea Penyak on the podcast today. It's the Bennettarium. Oh boy, it's the Bennettarium, and it's starting right now. Probably went a little loud on that, but whatever. I didn't have a compressor on. No. Welcome to the podcast, ladies and gents and others. We got
Happy December, everyone.
we got Michael Reed today on the podcast. We got Chelsea Penyak. And
We usually do our own introductions. Thanks for doing the work for me.
now I'm an interviewer for this one. And we got David Bennett, myself. Bunny's too busy shipping out order stuff for her art prints and stuff, so that's what she's doing today.
So
and
you got me instead.
Camille has work tomorrow and wanted a day off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's us.
Hello.
So yeah, I'm gonna unplug this so we have less ambient
Alrighty.
noise for some of this nice audio recording until we play some more music.
Let's get down to
we can do it
business.
in this one too.
To defeat the Huns.
Business.
So it's December 1st. I think it's been a couple weeks since we did a podcast. Just a lot of stuff we've been working on.
We should do like a Steam Powered Giraffe recap.
Yes. All right. So first,
Get that out of the way.
well, so what was our last show? I think the last podcast we did was before Barstow.
Yes.
Because we had Thanksgiving after that, and
Yes,
we've taken a few weeks off.
So our show that we did after the podcast was Barstow,
Oh,
California.
Yeah, I think we talked about the Downtown Disney Halloween show on our last podcast.
That sounds right.
So November 18th, we were in Barstow, California, pretty close to our hometown. We drove out for the day.
Well, like a 3-hour drive with traffic.
Yeah.
about,
Yeah, sorry, I don't want to just keep talking and take up all the time, but it was a very nice venue. We'd never been there before, and I really enjoyed it.
That theater was amazing. I mean, Barstow was great to have us. It was at the Barstow Community College, and this was the Performing Arts Center.
Yeah.
They had us out there. The theater was immaculate.
Yeah,
Thanks to Ed and Sean. You guys are great.
Yeah.
So that was real fun. They said it was record-breaking numbers that they had there. It was a big theater, so if you were there, thanks for coming out. It really meant a lot to the theater and to us.
I would do that one again. That theater is really
It was real nice. I think anyone who went there really got a great show, a good sounding show too, because the setup in there was a modern theater with, we had our equipment with their house speakers, and it was good.
Primo.
You can't see my hand, but it's doing that OK symbol.
That was that our third show this year with you?
Second, right?
Second? Yeah, second. I can't count.
And after that, it was like 2 weeks, and then just came this week. Monday we did Downtown Disney again. Mike wasn't with us for that one, and we did 4 40-minute sets. So, and it was real cold for San Diego.
My gosh,
it was definitely under 60.
Yeah, 4 40-minute sets.
I didn't know they were that long.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw some videos online, but it's just a single song.
Yeah.
And 40 minutes.
It's a long
It's a lot.
night.
It's the most work I've ever done. Even the zoo.
It's worth it though to see all the people passing the stage.
It's not something that we'd be physically able to do like every week. Not that anyone would have us doing that for a week, but it's a good fun experience. Lots of exposure for the band. Happy that they had us, and that was our second show at Downtown Disney. Halloween went well. They all liked us. This one was the Monday after Thanksgiving.
So another big weekend.
Yeah, pretty big. I think even more people than on Halloween, believe it or not. So that was crazy. We have one more December 30th, and that's right before
New Year's Eve. And that one's a Saturday. That's the first time we'll be performing in Downtown Disney on a weekend. So
lots of people.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing the crowds that night.
And so that's right before which holiday again?
New Year's Eve.
Yeah, that's going to be December 30th. We're at Disney.
Okay, cool.
So 31st, I think, and I know Brian and stuff, like he has some New Year's stuff, and we never book for New Year's really, just because we're not really the band for that kind of thing. But so we definitely were available the day before New Year's.
That'll be nice. And then before the Downtown Disney show on December 30th, we have a Bakersfield Yulemas special.
And that's the one we're working up to right now.
Yeah. So that's Saturday, December 16th in Bakersfield, California. We will be joined by Mike for that show.
Yeah.
And that's the annual holiday special.
Yeah, I mean, it started out as just like a show we did in December, and we're like, let's theme it to holiday.
Yeah.
And
It's the very
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah, there will be Christmas songs.
That's how it goes. Sing along if you know it at home, fans. But yeah, we have our own holiday song, and you might hear some other holiday songs. If you saw us at Disney, you'll probably know which one I'm talking about. But we'll be doing that. Those shows are about a little longer than our normal shows.
Yeah.
Just because
Bakersfield will probably be around 2 hours.
Yeah, it'll be about that time.
Definitely, if you're in the area or able to come to that show.
It's more unique because of
that one's always fun.
all the improv is holiday based.
That's usually our last show of the year, so
Yeah,
it feels
usually
really
is.
special and holiday. And we've got Disney as well this year, which will also be fun. But Bakersfield is always great. So
Yeah,
I like that town. The Bakersfield sound came out of there, and I like that stuff.
Bakersfield Sound.
Yeah.
why don't you tell us a little bit about
What's
that?
that?
Oh, it's
Because I have no idea what you're
I don't
talking
know.
about.
it's like in the singer-songwriter country western, old school, not the new stuff, and so it's just a different sound.
Do you have like an
Oh.
artist that's a good example of them?
I think Merle Haggard came out of there, or he had some sound in there, and then there's the Flying Burrito Brothers, I think, and then there's. I know.
I don't know
And then there's this
That's-
one other guy, and he's great, and I forget his name, but he's a really big part of that community. But I just like that little town. I have a lot of fun every time we go.
They got the Valley Fever out there. Although they keep reminding us every time we go there.
Oh God.
We'll make sure to make plenty of jokes about Valley Fever while we're out there.
Yeah. The Flying Burrito Brothers. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
It sounds like a fictional band.
Yeah, I know.
From.
I mean, doesn't Steam Powered Giraffe did at one point too?
Yeah.
And in fact, it was.
Well, I was gonna say Flying Burrito Brothers sounds like a band that would exist in the SVG universe.
I know, right?
I love that name.
Yeah, it's cool. I saw them play, and you know Garth Hudson from the band, the keyboard player. He is playing with them, and I
What?
saw them in North Park, and it was in this.
Wow.
It's
I didn't
really
wait.
cool.
That guy's.
Yeah, he's still alive, and he's still doing his weird way he plays like this.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, I want to
Wait,
learn.
did they had two keyboard players, or was one of them an organ player?
Yeah, he was like mostly like the Lowry organ, and then synthesizers, and then Richard Manuel was the guy who did the piano stuff mostly.
And
then they'd switch off.
the guy who's no longer with us is
Levon Helm, I think,
no, I
passed
know
away.
but the
Drake Danko, the bass player.
who was the other? He wasn't the keyboardist though. He was the organ player. One of them's not.
Oh, Richard Manuel died. Yeah,
He was the one that committed suicide.
Yeah.
Sorry to bring it down. He was, and that's always sad. I always look to other musicians like, how do they deal? Not that Steam Powered Giraffe has to deal with the same kind of stuff back then. They're a big band, but like I just remember Levon Helm talking about that, and and that was like in the 80s, like that, because that he was talking about it, and it was still like, he just couldn't do it. It was he didn't like the world. He didn't like that. Oh my!
You
And
get into a bad place and it's
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
And the artiste life can be a tumultuous life.
yeah. Well, it's always interesting to read about that stuff because you're like, well, because you never want to repeat that kind of stuff.
Totally. Just
Or,
don't drink a handle of Grand Marnier every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's drugs and stuff don't help all that stuff, but anyways, band's pretty cool. That sucks. I mean, even
The band.
his Levon Helm's last album, or was it last one? Dirt Farmer, was that the last one he came out with? Can't remember.
I
I don't
remember.
know.
All it was still good. I didn't really care for the. I'm like this is an album review now. No, all the female singers he uses in the live ones. It kind of takes it to a different place that I don't really care for. But maybe that's because I'm so used to that
Band
sound. Yeah.
The band.
But he does have some songs that don't sound like they would fit in the band, and I do like some of those. So some of those are pretty good. Like there's one about Jesse James. I think that's the name of the song, and that one's pretty good. Like that one doesn't. Oh, it's a really good song. Like pretty badass for someone who was that old, had throat cancer, and went back to singing. Like his voice totally changed, but man,
I bet they passed through Bakersfield. Hey, and by the way, isn't that Suchi?
Suchi, yeah.
Yeah, nice guy. I like that guy. Hi, if you ever see this, I like you. You're great.
We should also point out that our Bakersfield show, I think 20% of the profits that the show will be making is going to the Ronald McDonald House of Bakersfield.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's always been something. It's not
Always.
always
Great.
that charity, but it's nice. So if you know, after they pay us, the rest of the money goes to. And it's good. It's good.
The Bakersfield one always is. A lot of it goes to charity. So
yeah, and a lot of it's sponsored by other medical stuff. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Doctors and stuff like that. It's good. We're super happy to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So we got 2 more shows the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And I guess we have to touch on the thing we just announced yesterday. Just briefly.
That would be the next show after Bakersfield and Disney, and that's next on our itinerary for the podcast. We had a big announcement yesterday, and of course, I don't think we can avoid talking about it.
Nah. So yeah, yesterday afternoon we announced our 10-year anniversary show that's going to be happening Saturday, January 27th, 2018. And we're going to have pretty much everyone who's ever worked with us pretty much on stage. We have some of our we do have some people who've worked with us who won't be on stage. They'll just be in the audience because we're trying to make everyone come together for it and in some capacity. But we have all the robots back on stage. We have all the backing musicians back on stage, not for the whole show, mind you, but like I don't want anyone to get their hopes up like it's going to be like something that it's not.
I was going to say, if by chance you're listening to this and this is the first you're hearing about it, did you want to like list off who's going to be there?
Yeah, I did write
We've
this up
got
yesterday.
it right here. So these are the people you could expect to see on stage at this show.
I should just read it like it's an advertisement. One night only, the band is celebrating their 10-year anniversary and will be joined on stage by various past band members. Take a look at who will be making an appearance. Rabbit, played by Isabella Bennett. The Spine, by David Bennett. Zero, by Brian Barbron. Hatchworth, by Samuel Luke. The John, by Jonathan Sprague. Upgrade, Aaron Burke. Mr. Reed, by Michael Reed. Like it's your regular name. Walter Workers, Chelsea and Camille Penyak. Steve Negretti, Matthew Elton Smith, our drummer, and Gigi the Giraffe, because that's a funny one to put at the end.
Right.
Because she's not a poster.
So yeah, this is very exciting.
And all the people we didn't name that you won't be seen on the show, because let's just face it, that's 12 different people. It's a big show. But we'll have some people in the audience. We'll probably say hi to them in the audience. Like, oh, we have this person out in the audience. But it'll be the robot voice. Like, hey, remember those Walter Workers? You want to raise your hands? Look at those Walter Workers, all 3 of them. Okay.
That's so cool.
Let's go back to the robots. What?
Is Jesus going?
He hasn't got back to me. But
yeah, I mean, I guess we could.
But he's not a big emo guy, so
yeah,
totally. That's why I asked him months in advance.
But yeah, I guess all 3 of the previous Walter Workers, besides me and Camille, will probably be in the audience.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who was the other one you said? Mike Bucksbaum.
Mike Bucksbaum. He
played the drums.
Yeah, he would drummed for us before Matt Smith took over, because Matt he could only join us like at late November, and we had some shows. We had one show actually that we had someone to fill in for, and he hadn't drummed in a while. I think we've told this story before on the podcast. But he was in a band that's actually pretty popular, but they got in a car accident coming down the Grapevine. He was in a coma, and he's fine, and the rest of his bandmates turned out fine too, but they went on to do their thing, but he was still in recovery.
Wow.
So when we joined him, it was kind of like, he says it to this day, even in the email that I got back from him. He's like, that was a real special part of my life. I loved learning that stuff and playing drums again after many years of not doing it. And we did. We went over to Sam's house and got him doing some drumming for us for that first. It was Sam's first show with us too.
Oh wow.
As Hatchworth.
Oh yeah.
And Mike was on stage, obviously. And then we had another Mike doing drums. And boy, it was a Yomicon. And I'm sure our show has improved since then, because it was a lot of new things all at once for us. But that was pretty special to have all that stuff going on at the same time with Mike Bucksbaum stuff. So he's gonna be in the audience too.
Cool.
And yeah, he drummed for us. Right. Matt will be on stage briefly, and other stuff. Don't get your hopes up for what's gonna happen on stage. We are still planning it all, so you're gonna see everyone at least once. Is there anything else we should talk about with that? VIP tickets, what we usually have for our shows, they're completely sold out already. But I want everyone to know that the theater is around 400 seats, a little bit more than that, and that's what it'll be. Like if it sells out, it'll be whatever.
Right. So if you have a VIP ticket, you will get to come in early, watch sound check. You get a VIP goodie bag. Merchandise and free autographs will be after the show in the lobby.
And that's for anyone that
VIPs get to come early and they get a goodie bag, but after the show everyone will be able to get in line for free autographs.
So the VIP tickets, which are all sold out now, so it doesn't matter that we're advertising them. But for future shows, if we ever put on them ourselves somewhere in California, you see the VIP thing, you get to come sit in on sound check. You get a VIP goodie bag, and you get select seating. We save a set of seats that are right up front. Some of them are in the middle, just in case people like that. But and that's pretty special for those people. But everyone gets free autographs at the end of the show.
Yes.
And of course, we have a merch table set up as well if you want to buy some stuff. So if you're planning to come to the anniversary show, we tried to announce it as soon as we could, as soon as we had everyone on board and had all the paperwork signed with the theater, because we know some of you are definitely traveling a long distance for that. We see people travel all the time. I mean, we saw some people, what was it, in Barstow came out from like New Orleans or something, or was it New Mexico? I know
we had someone who flew out from Pennsylvania for the Barstow show.
I mean, that's all. It's all humbling, especially since it's not like a prime city too. Like they drove out to. We had people who drove a lot too. We had some people who drove all the way from San Francisco that day to see us, which is a long drive. California is very long.
And, thank you guys. Amazing.
And so always humbling. It's great that the anniversary show is getting so much reception, even within a few hours after posting it. Yesterday. So we'll have more information on that at a later date. Apologies if you're unable to snag VIP tickets. I mean, the theater's limited in seating size, and it is a one-night only event. But we'll update the rest of you who aren't able to make it on other stuff that we're not at liberty to talk about right now. But
I've seen I've been, it's just weird for me for this show in particular, as maybe it is for you and Bunny, but I've been up there for all of the different versions that we're going to be going through.
Yeah.
And I
mean,
it blows my mind. Okay,
I mean,
but we don't have to.
No, I get it. Yeah, no, it's weird.
Is it be chronological or just whatever the set list turns out to be?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're still working out the actual show. We have our general ideas of everything, but it's a lot to orchestrate, and we're being open to change because when you get that many people on stage, you want to be as flexible as possible. So for Brian, Bunny, Mike, and I, we have to be the most flexible, and right now we're kind of seeing how rehearsals go and stuff, and making sure that it, because it's when you get people to have to come in for select rehearsals, some people that don't even live here anymore, like that's a lot of commitment for them. Of course, everyone's on board to do it. It's just we trying to make it as easy as possible for them and what they feel comfortable doing and all that. It'll be magical, but you'll definitely see different versions too. Like, well, we don't want to spoil anything, but
lots of options.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to make my jumpsuit look a little bit more like your outfit. That's why I took those pictures.
Oh yeah, so in Barstow, you had the white jumpsuit to kind of match our Walter Robotics uniforms.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to match it even more.
Cool.
From the reference photos, so we'll see what I can do about that. But,
nice.
Yeah, I'm excited to match the rest of the white outfits.
I just love. I think the white complements what the robots are wearing so nicely.
Really? And it's a nice equation, and it's 3 and 3.
Yeah. 3
Very
3.
good. Very good.
Cool. Well, January will be very exciting. It's gonna be a fun time. And then past that, I don't know if we have anything.
No, I mean,
to announce.
No. It's too early right now to announce anything else. We have the show put up. I know other people are hoping for other more information about it. For those of you who can't make it, but we don't have anything to say because we do not like disappointing people. So just know that we're not ignorant to everything. So hopefully that quells some people out there. We're seeing what we can do. I think that's the easiest thing to say without getting too much into it. We know it's a big deal, and we know some of you aren't going to be able to get there.
Well said.
But we have some ideas with posters and stuff like that, and to be able to get people. We want to make sure people can get like maybe autographs after the show that don't happen to go to the show. So opportunities to sell stuff online, which is a benefit for the performers that are coming in for like just a day or devoting all this time. Like that's it's a good way to support them as well. So anyways, it'll all be positive.
Speaking of that,
we got 2 months before it
is
happens.
really nice.
Yeah, I love it.
That's a rad poster that Bunny put together.
Yeah, it was a cool idea. to make it like black and white with just the red accents. It looks real sharp.
When we first talked about putting a poster together, I like had in my mind's eye just like little pictures on the bottom of the special
kind of like what we do with Michael Reed.
Yeah,
like here's a square of Mike.
Yeah, but I mean that works fine for a normal show where we only have one guest, musician. But for this, like when I saw the poster, I was blown away. I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah, it's like the new Avengers movie.
Well, did you see
great.
there was a comment on Twitter? This new Avengers movie looks awesome. Someone replied with that. I was like, yeah.
I want one of those if those get blown up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, we're totally going to make sure that even if you're not
special.
Yeah. It's going to be special. We're not going to leave anyone out, even if you're far away. Don't expect a live stream though. We can say that.
Yeah.
That's not going to be
live
possible.
as it happens. That's not feasible, but we
yeah.
definitely are hearing all the fans' feedback.
Sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. We can move on to.
Yeah. Let's see.
Our
I don't really have anything
cool.
else. We talked about past shows, upcoming shows, anniversary show.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
If the show is however long it is, and then you're up there a lot, it must be draining to do all of the movements for such a long period of time. I'm just wondering if it is or if it isn't.
Like for the Disney shows or
For
something?
that, but also like for these longer ones that we're going to be.
Oh, yeah. Well, for me and Camille, most of the shows, we're in the wings. So we get time to like not be on, and kind of just like sit there and slouch and rest.
But when you're moving, you're like really moving.
Yeah,
around.
we do a lot. And I mean, it didn't start that way. When I first joined the group, before Camille was a part of it, I wasn't really doing that much. I was doing some skits with Carolina, but like, we didn't start doing a lot of dancing and getting really involved until Camille joined on, because we were both dancers and we realized we could do stuff together. But yeah, it's gotten, I really enjoy it, and it's just a matter of pacing yourself. And I mean, we have lots of training of, doing 2-hour-long ballets and stuff. Obviously, we're not on stage for the full 2-hour ballets, but we're trained in doing really rigorous shows.
Yeah. I've been watching because of my position on the stage. Like you guys are to the sides and then behind them, but because I'm where I'm at, like I've been being distracted in the best way.
Yeah.
Because I'm just kind of honestly blown away with the stuff that you guys do. So
wow,
good job.
Thanks.
Yeah. I'm trying to like focus.
It's also a sixth sense of like pretty much every different venue we go to, the stage is slightly different, and we have to adjust our spacing. It's always thinking on your feet. Everywhere you go, you have to mark the stuff, the dances and everything to
remember
figure out
distances. And everything.
And even I think the last one, what was it, Barstow? I like had a sixth sense of like I knew where you were behind me and your keyboard, and I was like, during Diamonds, there's these parts where we have to walk backwards without looking behind us, and it's like I've just done it for so long, in
spatial
ballet
awareness
and SPG, that I can kind of like I was maneuvering around your keyboard without even looking at it. Nice. But it's like
it's
and
great.
Also
you
for
guys are really
for the
good.
Disney stuff, you're up there the whole time.
That's the one I was gonna say. Those are more tiring than the normal shows. The normal shows we're on and off, so we get to rest. But the Disney ones, there
are no wings, right?
No wings. We can't stand behind the stage and look like we're not performing because people are walking back there. So for the Disney shows, if anyone's been to them, they're slightly different with the Walter workers on stage constantly.
You're on the
We've
whole time.
got our little props. We have like remote, we have the clipboards and our pens, and we are basically just we're pretending like we're a part of the act constantly. So like, for a lot of the songs we're interacting with the band. Like for Honeybee, we Rabbit malfunctions and we come out and fix her, but for some of the songs that we are not a part of at all, we still are occasionally pretending to make little notes on our clipboards and stuff, so that for the people walking by who don't know what we are, we look like what our characters are. We're engineers who are kind of observing the robots and making sure they're working properly for the show.
And the contrast to that is that Disney, it works because that's what we have to do, but it's only 40 minutes. And it's something that we could do for the whole stage shows, but for something like the stage shows, there's the idea of the show is dynamics. And if you have the same people on, like you have this energy drain that kind of feels when
Disney is very different.
When you guys come on stage, when it's just the 3 robots all the time, it brings a different energy into this. It changes things up. And
theater shows have cues.
Yeah,
so it makes sense that we are on and off in the theater
because
keeps it moving.
And that's why we have a little break with a GG projection in the middle. It's not much time, but it's enough time to break up the show that it doesn't feel monotonous.
And
because the robots are just going to be doing pretty much the same thing the whole time.
Well, and it allows for more variety. We change our costumes for the ballet at theater shows, which obviously we can't do at Disney.
Yeah.
And for Disney, well, first of all, over the summer we had new costumes made so that we have full mobility of our arms, which we didn't before. So now we can dance in the Walter Worker dresses. And we also wear different shoes for the Disney shows. We wear canvas jazz shoes, which are basically, just dance slippers, but they look like our black boots. So we literally don't have to do any changes at all for Disney, and we can dance in what we're wearing.
So it's nice to be able to do that. For our stage shows, it's definitely intentional.
We have changes.
Because I feel like when I'm on stage, I'm like, boy, they're probably getting real tired of watching us be tired at the show. And then you have these performers who come on who haven't been on for the whole show, and they come on and they have this burst of energy, and it makes the show that much better.
Both have benefits.
And I'm not saying that it's bad when we're all on stage and we're stuck there for 40 minutes. Like it's just a different beast.
Exactly. It's a different beast. We wouldn't want to be on stage for normal theater shows constantly because, like you said, it changes up the energy.
To be fair, though,
it allows for costume changes to make the show look more like variety.
You guys are on stage now more than you ever have.
We are.
Ever
since we premiered Me and My Baby in July, especially, we've looked at the set lists, and over the years, we've gone from like being on stage for 40% of the show to sometimes, depending on the set, we're on stage for about 80% of the show, and we're fine with that.
It's because Diamonds, we did that with that, and we also did it with Me and My Baby.
Overdrive earlier in the year, we were performing Overdrive, and we were on stage for that one as well. But we don't mind at all because we are theater performers. That Camille and I grew up with that. It's not like we're the merch people, but we also agreed to come on stage once in a while. Like, we took the job because we like performing. So it's great for us.
Whereas when we started, it was necessity of like merch, but now it's like, well, if you can have someone who can help with merch after the show, but also they're bringing something to the actual act. It's like that's like great.
But as far as tiring, like it can get really tiring. I sometimes like break myself because I'm like, well, I'm not on stage the whole time singing. Like, there's no, I shouldn't be this tired. But it is. It's a different type of
The only person who's never tired is Steve. But all he has to do is move little levers. No, I'm just kidding. He has a lot of setup before and after the show.
But Camille and I can get pretty tired after a show because we're doing all that and the merch, but we wouldn't have it any other way. It's very rewarding to feel exhausted after a show.
And to be fair, it feels more like you get the sense that we all did a ton of work by the end of it. It's not like, oh, this person's going to go and leave and they're done with their part of the show, which I imagine some bands are, because for us it's like it's a lot of making sure we can make use of everyone that
multiple hats.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's another reason Camille and I are like really gung-ho about it, is because where we come from, the ballet is also a very similar like small company where everyone wears a lot of hats.
And it's not because you don't want to spread it out to make it easier on people. That obviously comes with like the more you grow.
Yeah.
But it's something like if we have to pay an extra person to help Steve set up for a show, or we could just pay one of our performers a little more to help him set up. Like that happens at Disney all the time with Brian and stuff, and like the rest of us bringing instruments. And it's like, and we're benefiting. If someone else, if people in the band want to do a little extra work, then that's great, and they get rewarded a little more, and it makes it cheaper too, and it makes it affordable, and that's the hard thing to do with a band, because I think when you start out, you're like, you do it because you love it, of course, but then when it starts getting big enough, and you're like, well, now we have all this equipment, and we have to upkeep it, and stuff breaks, and you have to fix it, and now you have to have a budget for things. It's not just everyone's hobby on the weekend. And that people are devoting their time just whenever. Now it's a job, and that's the big change I think that some bands don't kind of survive through.
Sure, yeah.
But when you do, then it's like, well, now you kind of know how it works, and it never really changes. It only gets bigger and more work. And I don't know, you can see that, and especially when you work with people who are in other bands, you can see the same stuff just talking with Brian and with his other band and stuff. It's the same kind of stuff, just different levels of it.
Right.
Because I mean, we're blessed to have, so many people that like us all over the world, and we have a big enough draw that it's worth it. It's worth it for most of the shows that we do anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't have to go and do bar shows and play to 5 people. We can actually set up like nice theater shows every few months.
Yeah.
Or with events or conventions, and that's special. That's wonderful for us because it makes a better show.
Yeah.
But if to be to be a pessimist, I will also say it adds more pressure to because we don't just do a mess show and stuff. Like it means there's more reason to judge us because we do so many like proper shows compared to like show up at the bar, Steam Powered Giraffe, play for half an hour, like
Yeah.
Most bar bands don't do that. They probably usually play for like 3 hours or something. But whatever.
Yeah.
We're not. It's like a theater show. It's hard to.
Yeah.
It's hard to advertise that. It's hard to market it to conventions and stuff. There's other acts like ours, but as far as like working it and stuff, I don't know, because we're definitely less of a band and more of a. At least that's the direction it's gone ever since the zoo.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know what I'm talking about.
But anyway, thanks for the compliment and the feedback, because it's obviously we hear a lot of feedback from the audience, but it's different. The robots are always busy playing and everything, and
the first time I got to see some of the dances are like Disney, because
they don't get a good
the
view.
position I get to see.
For most of the ballets, you guys are like facing away from us on the sides of the stage, so it's nice to like get different feedback on like
it's cool.
It's easy to feel like you're not like, oh, this could be better. I'm not.
I understand.
I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
But,
I think we all.
But it's nice hearing that like it's
really
looking
impressive.
good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Totally. And I'm also, because of where I'm at, like I get to see the stuff that you're doing. I get to see people's reaction to it too.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like this big flood of info that's really cool to see. And I totally understand. I totally understand like how they would react with so much awe and stuff like that, But I love it.
Well,
because
it was. I mean, of course, there was some apprehension when we first started dancing on stage, because we were like, are people gonna actually are they here for this, or are they here for robots,
I think it's a good balance right now. Like, the ballet is definitely a focus. We try not to do
too much of it.
But then, something like Me and My Baby and Diamonds, that's the two that I have in my mind. It's more of a compliment to
Right. Like, I don't think we would want to do more than one like classical ballet in the set. Right now, Hold Me is kind of that. And that's why, of course, Me and My Baby, Overdrive, Diamonds are all different types of dancing.
The robots are still like front and center, but you guys are like adding to it.
We of course, like, we would be happy to do more than one thing during the show, but we know that we're, obviously Steam Powered Giraffe isn't about ballet and Walter workers, and so like I like that we've been able to pepper in other types of performances on stage, like Me and My Baby, which is kind of swing, and you're still the focus of that really in the middle.
I think there's plenty of that in the future, like because we're not going to be playing those same songs forever. Of course. I mean, of course we've brought back songs like Me and My Baby, I'll Rest With You.
It's been really fun.
We can do that with like so many other songs too, which is exciting, because the minute we like, oh, we're not going to do Diamonds anymore, we're not going to do Me and My Baby, and we're going to do some other song, then it's like, well, is there an opportunity for the Walter workers to add something
that
to
Turn Back the Clock and Hold Me are of course really pretty. We've gotten lots of great feedback on those, but I think it's because Me and My Baby and the other stuff is like not what Camille and I grew up doing. It's different types of dance. That's what we get really excited about. Like we currently are like so excited every time we get to do Me and My Baby, because it's something different.
It's a challenge.
It's outside of our comfort zone.
It's a good song. It's a good dance.
We really enjoy that
good routine.
I think we all feel the same way too. Like,
it's very good.
Okay, cool. now we talked about Steam Powered Giraffe for a long time. What
I don't know.
I mean, what else is there? I mean, is anyone listening to this podcast? I don't really like the band, but I love hearing you talk. No, there ain't no one out there that doesn't know Steam Powered Giraffe.
Well, we probably have like 20, 30 more minutes. We started around 110.
Okay, cool.
Is there anything else we want to talk about? Any questions? Well, no, we don't. Yeah. Well, not from the audience.
No, yeah, we don't. It's not really live. We're pre-recording it, but
So I don't know.
Should we? We could just play music or something.
Yeah.
What does Mike? Do Mike have any ideas? I'm gonna put you on the spot. No.
No. Whatever. I'm just having a blast.
People have heard all my stuff. I've done like acoustic stuff on YouTube and stuff, and like there's nothing new that I could bring to the table. That people haven't already heard a million times.
I don't really sing, and it's not like I can dance for people on podcasts. Like, get your guitar. Let's see.
We'll just spend time thinking about what we could do instead of doing something.
Have you ever done any notation or tabs or anything for your stuff?
I think we did for some of the stuff on Quintessential, because I think it was more Sam though, because it was more like telling like, oh, this is what we need to do, David. You know.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. I only ask because I'm sure as the rest of the group gets this as well, but I get lots of asks about those infos, just about keys and notation and tabs.
So yeah, we have on the Engineer-eteers site, we have like the chord progressions of songs, and there's sometimes there's multiple versions on our Engineer-eteers site that have like, this is how you would play it with a capo, this is how you play it without a capo, but it's not tabulature. It's more like, here's what the key of the song is in, and you can see all the chord changes. And I think that's like the best thing, because for me it's like, of course, well, for one thing, none of us are gonna take time to write tabs for like bass and guitar, like especially for rhythm guitar. Like that's the perfect thing, is just those tabs. But we don't have it for every song. We have it for like album 1, album 2, a few songs in the MK3, and I think that's about it.
Cool.
There's definitely requests for more, but we haven't. It's all about time. It wouldn't take too long. I think I added some sometime last year I added a few more.
You working on anything recently?
Like
any
music?
Just any little ideas?
Sure, it's all Steam Powered Giraffe stuff though.
So nothing you can talk about?
It's because we've done that in the past, where like I'll have a song that I work on and I kind of share it publicly, and it kind of loses steam by the time you get, because then they're like, well, I kind of liked your crappy recording, like now the album version's not as good, and I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't have ever shared it, because then you wouldn't have known.
Totally. Have you ever done would not be a good time to do a little tutorial to show just viewers, just you can do a quick little arrangement of a harmony part, maybe along with the song you're working on? It'd be fun, because then you would get the 1 and then maybe the 3 or the 5, or switch that or whatever, you know.
I don't know if there's anything I could contribute.
Oh, no, we would kind of.
What do you got any chords in mind? What do you want?
No, not really. I'm sure you do though.
Yeah, but I like thinking of it's all like Steam Powered Giraffe stuff. I'm like, no,
don't want to
share it. Don't want to share it. Because it's the
maybe there's something that's already been released.
Yeah,
that you could just what's a good one?
Any of the 3-part harmony ones, the standards probably have the most of that in it. I was thinking about it, like, you know, some of the stuff that we like, Clockwork is a good. All those ones have 3-part harmonies. Not all of them have like 3-part harmonies all the way through though.
Would it be something that you are familiar with, or just like something like, I don't know, Starlight?
How about Me and Baby? We were talking about Me and Baby.
Yeah.
How about we do that? There's some ones in there that are nice. The ending is pretty nice. It's like just a cappella. We don't need guitars now. Because with Me and My Baby, I start with a melody. Brian and Bunny would sing the harmonies of Me and My Baby when I'm singing that part, and then right at the end, I drop down, and then we kind of switch and the chord changes, and that's always a fun thing, because the audience, it's not really noticeable unless you're paying attention, you know. Like, obviously I'm singing something different, but it still like matches everyone else's, and that's all. Those kind of things in songs are cool, because once you learn it, it's like it's second nature, but it's kind of like hard to jump into it.
The very tail end, like you said, though. Me. Where is your part? Me and my baby love Saturday.
So I think I take a Brian's, and then he goes to a different one. So if we sing the last end of it, we'll just
figure it out.
Start the end. We'll just
and then break it down.
The last chorus, and then when it goes, me and my baby love a Saturday night. Yeah, me and my baby love a Saturday night. And then it would, and I think that's the end of it. If you went from the end of the chorus, and then it would be me and my baby love a Saturday night. Me and my baby love Saturday.
Do you hear which part do you hear in there?
To be honest, at the end, like, if I'm not like paying attention, I'm not really listening to the harmonies. Like when I'm on stage dancing,
because your mind's occupied.
I pretty much only hear your part.
Yeah. I mean,
like I hear the harmonies,
the prominent
but
one anyways,
like right now, if I had to pick one out and sing it, I couldn't.
So it's the same as if strumming, except I'm changing harmonies, and that pushes Brian. I think Bunny stays the same, if I'm not mistaken.
Is this
none of them are in the podcast right now to confirm this?
Is it comfortable around me and my baby love that day?
Yeah. Me and my baby love.
So if we do the end of it, where I do the melody,
I can maybe do that.
And then go the end.
Just lock on.
Okay,
I'll give or are we going from the very end where it changes?
Do the part alone, and then we'll come in for the end.
Me and my baby love a Saturday nights. Me and my baby love.
Just loop that.
Saturday, me and my baby love. Saturday, me and my baby love. Saturday, me.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, that worked.
Try this. You did it exactly the way we said it, but try this. Me and my baby.
Me and my baby. Okay. Me and my.
And then everything else the same.
Okay, I can try that.
2, 3, 4. Me and my baby love. Saturday, me and my baby love. Saturday.
Yeah.
Cool. That was I think John sang that part.
Yeah.
Because I can hear it in his voice.
I have this. I noticed I did that when you had me sing the harmonies on like the Bennettarium intro.
For the first time, yeah.
I have because I'm not used to singing. I've only been able to do a little bit here and there when you want me to record something. I have this weird thing where I have to like fixate on a spot on the wall to be able to.
I did the same thing. I did the same thing. I just go right out there.
I just realized I was staring at that like
you know what?
camera up there.
If anyone out there is like, everyone likes singing, but if you're not like, oh, I don't want to be lead stuff, like if the easiest place to sing if you don't want to sing, like you're too afraid, is in a choir. Like you will be singing the same part with a group of people, most likely, unless you're the the
it's
lead.
a comfy zone.
And it's a great way to pick up on tones and notes and keys and stuff. And like anyone who's ever done singing, even me, like stuff in high school, stuff in musical theater class, it's a great way to not feel like everything's on me. And then that's a lot of comfort to be able to like sing with a group of people. And of course, if you have some talented people in the group, then you're just picking up on what they're also doing, and and you just kind of fall into it because that's all you're hearing. And to the audience, totally, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, totally. It's true, man. And that's just that song lends itself to those parts anyways. It's just a great
there's some songs that we spark this harmonies are, it's not as prominent, like they're more like for effect in some areas, and not every song is harmonies with the melody the entire time. Sometimes it's just some ahs or oohs that kind of add stuff that a backing instrument might be doing, but instead you're doing it with like a two-part chord or three-part chord with on top of the melody. So there's tons of ways to do with harmonies, and I hope if you listen to Steam Powered Giraffe, you can see that over the years. There's tons of different examples of all that. There's so many that we don't even play live, that like on albums that were really cool, and like, boy, there's some on Roller Skate King that I was like, I don't know how we'd ever do it live, but like because we have Brian now, we could. So that deep voice, like, because I had to add extra stuff to it. Like on I'll Rust With You, when we do that live, we only have 3 people on stage. Unless you're there and you add the backing harmonies that we had on, they're like additional things that make it sound cool, but we're also missing this low part that kind of made it sound it kind of placed it in that time of the 50s kind of sound.
I love that song. Can we do that one again?
And Brian and I, we switch off for the second verse so we can have a little bit of it. But I don't know if anyone's aware of it. It's like, it's the part where it's the second verse, and then I just go super low, and Brian takes my last harmony, and
Have you worked through that one?
Yeah, we do it on stage.
I haven't seen it.
I'll rest with you.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Roller Skate King still. Okay.
Oh no, yeah. No, we haven't done that one. That one's hard. The hardest part of Roller Skate King is finding breaths in it, but we've never done it live just because I don't know. I don't remember what album that was on. That was on MK3, right? Or is it 2 Cent Show? I can't remember.
3, I think.
What? Which one?
Roller Skate King.
I think that's on 3.
That one came across exactly how I kind of imagined it.
I like that song.
It's like Schoolhouse Rocky feeling. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. Sorry.
I've definitely done that one like acoustic just myself, but we've never ever worked out live harmonies for it. Because you can't always do the same harmonies.
That would be a good one to
live
do.
that you can do on an album, because on an album you're able to, you don't have to have that person take a breath.
Yeah.
You can just have them start singing something else immediately.
Yeah.
And that sounds cool for an album, but live, then you're like, okay, I have to cut out like halfway through my harmony to take a breath so I can sing the next part.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always a challenge. Like Honeybee is kind of that way, but since we learned it live first, when we went into the album, you kind of add more stuff. But then when you do the live version of it, because I've heard like 5 different versions of Honeybee at this point, like it's almost as if the live version, it sounds good live, but it doesn't translate to the album version because of the breath.
So isn't it always? It's usually like better to perform a song live before recording it, right?
I mean,
or is it just based on like
how it
the
goes?
nature of the act, or whatever?
Yeah, I mean something like that's just
because it makes it easier to record, right? Everyone's already familiar with it.
For sure, and we've had totally ideas
compared to like
examples, I guess,
recording something and then premiering it live because it changes.
I mean, that happens all the time. Like when we performed in Balboa Park, we had nothing recorded. Yeah. A lot of the songs, they came like just like that. But after recording them on an album, we started changing stuff.
That's true too. Yeah. Yeah, but definitely I've noticed that there's little things, musical communication happening between everyone, either consciously or subconsciously, that gets parts plugged into each other in ways that are honed on stage, that are good, that translate really well into a recording, because everyone knows the intuitions are there to know that something feels right or not, and you get to work through it on stage before you record it.
And and I think the example about going from Balboa Park to an album to then a stage show, like that's kind of unique to how we grew.
Yeah.
Because something that would work acoustically live with just the instruments and that doesn't always translate to a show where you have a backing musician as well as a drummer on stage, and that creates a whole new idea of like, how are we going to play Honeybee with all this stuff? And you kind of come up with something, and that works, and then. But for now, like, something like Vice Quadrant, there were a few songs that were like, okay, we have played them live, we're going to put them on the album, like Fire Fire. And, we made them, in my mind, we made them sound as close as we did them live, but also fit in with the theme of the album. So, but at the same time, people might say, well, you didn't really hit either. And like, well, you got to pick one or the other, and you just kind of fall somewhere in the middle. But for something like what we're doing now with like future albums, like we have a song that Brian has on stage that, of course, don't have an album out for, and it's changed like every single live show. And we're kind of falling into a place that maybe we wouldn't have gone if we just put it on an album.
Right.
And I think that's just the nature of it, because a live version of something, you can play it to the album, but has anyone seen a live version of any song and it's been exactly the same? Maybe a singer-songwriter that's just one person, maybe, but.
It seems kind of exciting, because by the time you do put Lying Awake on an album, it's going to be the culmination of everything works on stage, right?
Imagine American...
it's going to sound more comfortable.
Yeah.
American Pie, that's like when he sings that live, it's different every single time.
Yeah.
The recording on that record of that song, it was just spontaneous.
Yeah.
And it would never have... And that's that... I can't remember the artist.
Don McLean.
Yeah, and he would... And... that's just how he is. Like maybe he's actually come to actually perform it similar to the album after that. But like when he was talking about it, like in interviews and stuff, it's like no, he just kind of
captured it.
It's a captured thing, and he played that song like a bunch of different ways. Different phrasing, wording. Like that's just how it goes. And you know, in an album, that's the best thing about it, is you might get something that's magical that you can't really recreate live.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Does anyone really want to go and just go to a show and it's essentially hit play and the band performs it exactly like the album?
No, I mean, I guess some people might want that, but for me personally, as a fan of bands, like, it's the excitement of knowing you're going to get something slightly different every time you see them. Yeah. For me, just as a fan of music and the bands that I'm a fan of, it's seeing things evolve and change live based on, you know, whatever energy the band is feeling at that moment is what makes the show.
Totally, I agree. And it's strange too to say that. I agree with you personally. I feel that way. I took a trip to Nashville and I got back the day before yesterday. And I was just listening with my ear to the ground over there just to see what the feeling is in the music scene and what's happening. And it's interesting because there's an artist out there who I greatly admire and respect, and I love the sounds that they're getting. But their take on that in particular is that they've spent a lot of time honing their sound and producing their sound and getting exactly what they want. And so when they perform their music, there's this change happening in all across music where especially producers are willing to play tracks 100% and just stand up there with a microphone and maybe a guitar or something, but that's because it really matters to them that they spent so much time creating honestly beautiful stuff. And I get it.
That's very interesting because it's in the complete opposite direction, but that just proves that there's no right or wrong. It's about what you personally are out to do as an artist.
Well, and you'll get the people interested that are the right people to be interested in your stuff. So
like if that's what you want to do, then that's, you know, that was your vision for your art.
Yeah, and I get it. And like the stuff she makes is just really good, and so I understand, but it's like I need to see the change, the luck of the draw factor.
Well, and you know, it's not always different because different is better or something. It's also it's just that because life is chaotic and you're like, well, you have how many people on stage, and an album you had extra people because you were 2 people on that album on that vocal track or something, and that was because that got the idea across. And here's the thing is you can make a CD that's live, and there's been lots of classic rock albums that are just live and then they're produced later, and maybe they do put like tracks on top of it to make it sound more albumy. But like, just look at like, what's a good example? That guy, what's his name? Peter Frampton. Like, there's a lot of live stuff that
was a talk box.
You know what I mean? Yeah. There's a lot of tracks that are just not studio. I mean, they are, but they're live. They're taken from live recordings, and like that is a way to do it. And we've done that. And you know, but when you look at it, you're like, how many people want a live track? No one, from what our experience. And how many people want like an album that's made to be listened to because it's an album? I
think it also depends on the type of fan. You know, there's some fans who aren't happy with any live tracks because they don't sound like the album. This is the exact thing that I fell in love with. And
then there's
some
the
fans will
too.
be really into the performers. You know, some people are like really into the music and they don't care about live stuff. And then other people are fans because they like to watch what the performers are going to do. Like on the fly.
Totally.
So, you know,
there's no way to...
There's really no formula.
Make everyone happy, but you kind of just... You cast a wide net,
I think a lot of it is dependent on the individual fan's tastes and what they're invested in.
Totally.
Because for us, I mean, I like doing all of it. Like, if I look at the live show right now, obviously it's always growing and stuff, especially with a new person and bringing Mike back on for some shows. Like, you know, something like Diamonds is literally like, well... we're doing it because it's like look at that. And they're doing this song that we didn't think we would never do.
And it's really popular on YouTube.
And
Lots of people recognize it.
And it's like someone on stage, you know, pressing a keyboard to make that, what is it, 505, whatever frequency kick drum sound. That's not going to make it any different than playing the backing track.
And you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't just do it on a kick drum either. If you have the sound.
If we did it, we would make it more acoustic or something.
Right. And so you're bringing YouTube to the stage in that sense, especially. Yeah, totally. Which is great. It's cool with this group especially because there's a whole mix of all of these different sides of things, and I think a lot of that keeps people's attention transfixed, in my opinion. But.
And then when we do play something like, I guess a good one is I'll Rust With You. Obviously, we're still using backing tracks for drums on stage, which is a hard thing to get away from. But it's not the same as the album, but it's closer to the album because it's it's a consistent drum thing, and it's not like live drummer on stage playing to a click track or anything. But if you take I'll Rust With You, and you have Mike's backing guitar in there, and then you also have our 3 harmonies that are always there, and then Mike's on top of that, like that adds something that's like you're not going to hear that on the album, but you're also not going to be hearing it live.
It's unique.
Like other times we play that song. So I think, you know,
there's a magic in there for sure. So there's a good line everyone's writing. It's great. You're right.
And for us, you know, a lot of our choices have been like taking the reality of the situation of what what we can technically do and what we can put together for a show, because we had to look at the whole year and say, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? Shows locally, we can supply this equipment, we can do that. And this last year we've adjusted to so many different shows, Disney being one of them, to like what can we bring? And we're in a very good place to have so many options. And that's it's like it's another thing, like it's not just playing the same show every time. It's like I have my parts that kind of don't change, but then everything else around that changes, and it's weird, but it's also nice to be versatile, because there's not too many, I can't think of any other bands that would be able to be that versatile with the show.
Yeah, I mean, well, the more versatile it is, the more opportunities are open to you.
Of course, there's the other side of that, where is because it's that way, it does make it more complicated. We can't just go and set up and play a show.
It's both. It's like a double-edged sword, or whatever the metaphor is.
Because when we play a show that's just like, oh, bring some guitars and just play acoustically, like we never try to advertise that, because otherwise, we went to the UK, we had 900 people show up. If we went into the UK and did that, would anyone be happy? You know what I mean? Like, could we perform acoustically for 900 people? I don't think so. And then it turns into, oh, can we put microphones on your acoustic guitars and you can just play it that way? I'm like, but then you start getting into the realm of like, well, now you're amplifying our voices and the guitars, and now the sound is amplified. And if we just do our show,
there's
like,
a lot of
it'll sound better than that.
That's a good point. A lot of technical things that people might not know when people are interested in booking you for and asking, why can't you just do something acoustic? It's
like just plug in a guitar.
The logistics
have a mic. For one
there's
thing,
a lot there that people might not realize.
Totally.
We cannot do the robot and do this. It just does not work. It would be weird. It's just not going to work. And then you're like, well, so that's what you get to when you're like putting together shows. Is like eventually it's like, well, of course we can use our headsets, and then like, well, we can't have wires because we'll trip over them with the dancing. So of course we're just going to make those wireless. And then eventually you're like, well, now you have our stage show. And so our stage show, even though it has extra stuff in it, it's all there for a purpose to make it good. And that's, I don't know, it's important to us. Like, you don't go to a Steam Powered Giraffe show and say, oh, it sounds bad. Like, because when it sounds bad because of the theater and venue, like it still sounds like there's an effort put in to make use of the crappy speakers. And I'm not going to point out any events, but like, it's ones that sound like they're underwater because they're so blown out or something.
Right.
And you're like, well, you can't really do anything to that. Like, it just sounds like muffled and no one's really enjoying themselves there, but Steve's doing what he can. And I think that's a good thing with us that we have is our sound guy cares about the sound a lot, even when there's obstacles, like he's put to the side of the stage and he can't hear the whole show there. Like there's so much. It's none of us are showing up and saying good enough, like we'll feel that at the end of the day, like I don't care, but we put a lot of effort to prep for the show and stuff.
Well, I think it shows.
But what I'm saying is it also bites us in the butt because our shows have been that way for so many years. Like there's an expectation now.
Sure. And
of course, and that's the thing is if we show up and we do something less than that, which we, when we got rid of backing musicians and stuff, when we got rid of John, it's all like, well, this isn't what our vision was, but it's kind of like you're making the best of what it is, but at the same time you're trying to go forward. And those fears kind of are like,
good luck.
What do you?
Just dissonance.
Yeah, but yeah, I know most of it's positive at the end of the day, and we're still young considering 10 years is a long time because some fans 10 years is more than half their life.
Yeah.
But for me, it is a good chunk of my life, but it's not my whole life, and.
I mean, it's
there's
crazy,
still 10 more years after that and 10 more years after that as long as none of us die.
It's really surreal when I see families come to our shows with teenage kids saying like, oh yeah, I took them to Balboa Park when they were 6, 7, and I'm like, wow, it's so surreal to me. Like it makes me.
And then you're like, what did I do with my life?
I suddenly become hyper aware of my mortality and like my age, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like for some of these people, they don't like their life. They don't know a life without this band existing. Whereas like for me, it's like, oh, you guys came into being as a group when I was like already reaching my 20s, and I'm like, wow, it blows my mind that there's people out there who like literally have very early childhood memories of watching you guys on YouTube or whatever.
I love it.
You know,
it's so great.
Yeah, so
it's so sweet. So many cuties.
Yeah, I mean, like you've got a generation who are literally growing up like never knowing a life without Steam Powered Giraffe as something.
It's always interesting to see people who come into it, and then it's like there's so much to digest, like not just the videos on our own YouTube, but like on the internet, and then all our albums, and like, at this point you can't really even, there's no here's how you listen to the band in the order. Like, if someone catches Vice Quadrant and they think this is weird, why did they do this? Like, is this their whole thing? Like, it's kind of like the wrong album to start with, because it's like, well, this is like a super high concept. Has a little bit of the robots, but is like not like the vision of the band, but we did it because we wanted to.
Sure.
And that's kind of hard. You can't really explain that to anyone.
Well,
you just have to be like, this is Vice Quadrant.
What interests me is knowing that no matter what content you put out there, someone is going to become a fan because of it.
Yeah.
Wow. Like anything you make, to at least one person, that's their gateway. Yeah. A lot of people discovered you through Steam World Heist.
The video game,
A lot of people, Vice Quadrant was the first thing they ever experienced of you, and it's just always fascinating to me. Like,
Honeybees mostly, it's Honeybee, but
introduction is because I find it fascinating just because of that concept of like, oh, everyone in the world like is living their, what's the name for it? Sonder. The sudden realization that like everyone else in the world is also experiencing this rich, complex life. And I love the idea that every one of your fans has a completely unique experience as to what their introduction was.
It's a lot of pressure.
Let's take advantage of it. Let's just put out an album for voice notes on our phone.
Voice notes. Yeah. Wait, that we don't need, we just record on phones.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna like it.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I mean, that's the idea behind the podcast too. Is someone out there is liking it. I mean, it's a good thing too for us not to be in a void of some sort. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. But also, it's helpful for this day and age where people kind of expect to be able to connect with you on more than just, here's their album. That's it.
I mean, just the other day I saw someone, a YouTube comment that said that their introduction to the band was the time lapse of Rabbit's makeup. They didn't. It wasn't even music. I love that. I love that you have so much variety of content out there that fans can come from anywhere.
Well, I mean, it's hard to understand why it grew, how it grew, but like in hindsight, it's like it's a lot of just us keeping doing it. Mm-hmm. Like. We might have been lost to obscurity, but even though there's not like a hyper focus on what we're doing every single day, like we've been busy every single day. At least Bunny and I, and then everyone else is just orbiting around that whenever, and if they come into our orbits or whatever, then it happens. And
yeah, that's a huge takeaway lesson in my opinion from this group. And then whenever anyone asks me like in person about my experience with Steam Powered Giraffe, and anything that I can help them with their own music or their art or something, I usually just tell them basically what you just said is just do it every day and be consistent and treat it with your sincerity and your respect, and if you just keep doing that, if you build it, they will come. And I think that's something that's actually true.
It's easy to look back and think, wow, no one really cared except about Honeybee or something, in that vein, like that's their golden goose. We'll never reach that, but like in the grand scheme of things, we've had thousands and thousands of people show up to our shows.
Oh, yeah.
Every iteration of it, like there's always new people who never saw that old one, they saw the new one, they like this, they like that, and then I mean, to judge it all is like, well, it's working in some sense, and if it wasn't, then people wouldn't show up, I guess.
Totally. Yeah.
And that happens too. Some people like, I saw a show, I didn't like it anymore. I don't really like this new performer. I wish they had this other one, and that's fine too. You just find another audience, and
I mean, you have. I know from the last year, going out to shows and online that you already have a big group of fans who came in post Brian, like you know, who didn't even know the act before Brian. So even the most recent iteration is pulling in new fans.
I mean, it's a cacophony of different things pulling in any direction at any given time.
And everyone's going to have their opinion on everything at all times.
Yeah,
so
and
you just like keep doing it.
And being in the band, you just have to kind of have your own focuses and stuff. Like, well, what do we want to do? And like, that's an important thing, is that to ask everyone. And of course, we've done that over the years with everyone we've had in the band, and that's kind of how you direct it. That's how it's directed.
The individuals in the pool of like fans and audience will change over time, but it's like as long as you keep putting content out there, the audience won't go away.
Should we end it? We could talk about anything.
Yeah.
We could talk about nothing for nothing forever. We we could. How do we do this one slower or super fast?
Just to change whatever
Let's do it a little slower, just because I like hearing the harmonies. Yeah, it's cool. You multifaceted here. It's good. It's good stuff.
I try.
It's good. Wait, do you do anything else? I mean, visual arts, photography. It sounds like.
Oh yeah, I do photography.
The whole gamut.
Merchandise shipping.
Yeah.
A skill.
Back in the day, it was like I was either gonna go in one direction or the other, like illustration or photography, and I chose photography. But I used to draw a lot, and I still sketch when I can.
Oh yeah,
Dang,
like
that's a lot of stuff.
I would
say sketch,
contribute some art.
Like when you draw something, it's like amazing. You know what I mean?
No, it's not.
Like I'm like, oh, you know, I've only tried to draw my whole life and can't get anything. But you know, you're like, it's just another skill I have.
I want to practice more, but it's like, you know, when I have free time, I'm like, video games or drawing.
But it's good that like it doesn't go away for you and all that.
I try not to let it go away. Like I'll let it slip for a few months, but then I like draw a unicorn real quick to just keep the blood flowing.
Just quick unicorn.
It's only, I mean,
unicorns and dragons. That's like all I draw.
I mean, once Bunny found out that you could draw, like now we're just gonna ask you to do some art on the next album.
That's fine. Anyway,
yeah. Yep.
Okay.
But let's on one final note, let's all know that most 80% of working at Steam Powered Giraffe is busy work that you don't need a skill to do.
That's what keeps us going.
I'm kidding. Like all the rehearsal and stuff, obviously, but the other half of it is, you know.
You don't see more than half of it because it's just boring business work.
I mean, anyone can ship merchandise, but you know, it does take a skill to be able to want to do it.
Hey, once you do it for long enough, though, you like get a little personal system down, and now it's like, yeah, it's work that anyone could do, but if I had to train someone else, at this point, I wouldn't even bother because it's like I know how to do it quickly.
I mean, that's everything.
You know, that's everything. It's like
you could have someone else write paychecks to people.
I've had that happen with other jobs. Like I'm a ticket sales manager with the ballet, and it's always like when they bring someone new in to like help me, I'm always like, well, it's really nice that you want to help me, but it's gonna slow me down to teach you where I can just do it really fast. Like,
and all that stuff, any of that stuff with Steam Powered Giraffe, all of it would go out the window if and when that something happened that elevated us to a degree where it's like, okay, now we can't do this.
Yeah.
And it's been slow growth, and we have given like, you know, we have a CPA now, so I'm not standing there entering QuickBooks stuff every single day nowadays.
Yay, good.
I have to do it every month though. Still, it's a lot.
We're getting there.
It's little steps. 1, 2. Is it good speed?
Yeah, we'll do R&B version.
It's a podcast from Steam Powered Giraffe. It's the Bennettarium. Oh, we talked about Steam Powered Giraffe, even though we didn't plan to on the Bennettarium. Oh boy, it was the Bennettarium. And we'll see ya. Well, maybe not next week, but whenever the next one is.
December's busy for me.
I know, we have rehearsals. We have a show, Bakersfield.
This is my last like real weekend of December. After this, I've got Nutcracker, Steam Powered Giraffe, Nutcracker, and then Steam Powered Giraffe.
The holidays are
4 weeks.
The holidays in summer are the stressfulest times for us.
I'm always super busy in December, and now like I'm basically alternating every weekend my 2 jobs.
I think that's mostly for like a lot of companies though too. Like, I mean, performing arts for sure, but also just It's the holidays. It is
Yep.
what it is. So much work.
Holidays have never been restful for my family.
And you know what? You know what? And then you would say, "Oh, the beginning of the year is so much easier." But you're like, "Nope, taxes."
Yeah.
And that's how it is for me. Like, holidays are over. Now it's time to think. And then you're like, "Well, nope. Now I got January. I got to work up until April to make sure." Ugh. That's like everyone, right? That's what running
summer is the
like.
slowest time for me, based on my jobs. Because summer is when the company's off and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's gonna be hectic. Hey, so you're gonna edit this later, yeah? Gonna edit this video later, yeah?
This video?
Yeah.
I just leave it as it is and put it up.
Can you just flash a huge square of my face like this just for like half a second somewhere in the video?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to edit any of it. I'm going to take the raw files and throw it up.
I like how you're like nodding, you're shaking your head at the camera like anyone's seeing.
Oh, yeah, I totally shook my head. No, I don't edit the. It's for Engineer-eteers. Like it's funner raw.
Is the video? Are we even doing video of this one?
Yeah, no, I recorded
it.
I just put it up on the Engineer-eteers site so people can watch us.
So
That's the bonus.
So giant head, half a second.
Just
but you don't understand how much extra work.
And
just
what do they
is.
get if they find it?
Crack me up.
Okay, I can easily do it. The problem is it would take about, this is what, an hour? It would take maybe 2 hours to render
it?
maybe. And then like
2 hours to render a giant
and then I got to upload it. And then where this, I just have to upload the
so
raw
instead,
file.
just make the artwork for this episode a giant head.
If there was an easy way to like edit it online, then I would, but I don't think Vimeo. We do Vimeo.
Next time.
You can't even trim out stuff on Vimeo. You just have to kind of like
I love it.
put there. Anyways,
All right, thank you, everyone. We'll probably see you sometime.
yeah, see some of you in Bakersfield.
Yes.
Maybe we'll have another one as before then, but I don't know.
We'll see.
It's all about scheduling.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. That's really fun. Thanks, guys. Have fun. Be safe. Walk hard. Stay real.